Hey guys, Brandon Woolum, CCM Magazine, hanging out here in Nashville inside the CCM Cafe with a couple guys who are going to talk a movie with us today, the latest installment of the God's Not Dead series coming out in just a little bit. September 12th is when it is out there. Take us through the synopsis of this one.
Well, September 12th, in theaters, God's Not Dead, In God We Trust, is the, it's an election movie that, it kind of got built on this bizarre stat that 40 million American Christians don't vote in presidential elections. Why is that the case, right? Because so often I think Christians don't want to be involved in politics. And here, I come back as Reverend Dave, and the incumbent passes, and there's a spot that's open in Congress, and they somehow say nobody else wants to run. You should run for the conservative base, and he doesn't want to, of course, because of things like that, and so the political adversary obviously wants to continue to remove God from culture and from our country in different ways, and that's where Scott Baio comes in,
Scott, you've never been one to shy away from talking politics, so when you got this script, did your eyes kind of light up like this one might be the perfect role for me?
Well, what I liked about it was the message that it sent. What Dave just said, there's 40 million people that should be voting because the things that they want are being taken away, and they have the power to stop it. So when I read the script, I thought this would be kind of fun. I get to play kind of a bad guy, which is always fun. I play his opponent's campaign manager, or for lack of a lawyer, whatever, and I get to do some pretty sleazy stuff, and it's always fun to do that. But the message of the movie was great, and the script that I read was great, and Dave and I are friends, so we didn't get to work together. Well, we were on the same place, but we didn't get to interact.
We didn't make scenes together.
But I got to hang out with Dave and a bunch of people that work with him who were just terrific people.
So this film comes out here in a couple weeks. Is this something that Christians that maybe fall on both sides of politics will be able to watch? Or if they're on one side, they may not like it as much?
Well, the God's Not Dead movies have always been about opening conversations up, right? So for whatever reason, I believe that the Lord puts these storylines in our writers' heads at the time for such a time as this. And this movie started 3-4 years ago in the process of the development of the story. And so you're always kind of like, I don't know that is even going to be relevant. And yet as time marches on, more and more, every God's Not Dead movie has really landed at the right time. And again, this is obviously it's an election movie, but it couldn't be more on the nose of what is actually happening in our culture right now, which is both scary and at the same time thought-provoking. And I think it will resonate with audiences, both sides. Hopefully, it just opens up conversation between families and friends.
Yeah, is there a running list of topics you want to address in these God's Not Dead movies, or is it just they come every few years? You don't have a plan for which one's going to be next. Do you have a list of like 10 ideas that you?
The next one is about green shirts that have guitars on them and why people wear them.
Let's see, that's page 327. Yeah. I mean that is kind of funny because no, it's not like we have there's 10 Fast and the Furiouses, so we got a little bit of ways to go, but it's not like we set out to make this many God's Not Deads. It's just that God's Not Dead seems to be find its place in whatever's relevant in culture at that time, and it has a voice to speak out on some of these things that other movies don't. And so you never know. I mean, I don't know whether we'll make another one or not.
Yeah. Well, you had Newsboys back in there in the early days. They're back in this one too, I see, right? I think I saw them in the trailer.
We did. We had a bunch of recurring people. Dean Cain comes back. Hadn't seen him since the first God's Not Dead, which also, it's the 10-year anniversary for the God's Not Dead franchise. And Scott had said, you know what, this is my favorite franchise. I want to be in it. And had just asked me for so long.
That and Guardians.
And so, Isaiah Washington comes back. Paul Quo as Martin comes back. There's a whole bunch of different people. Samir Armstrong is wonderful in it. And
There's a Mike Huckabee cameo in there. You got to use the
Mike
studio.
Huckabee.
So.
Ray Wise.
Yeah, Ray Wise. So
Charlene
great.
Tilton.
Yeah. Like just so many. That cast is. It was fun. It's fun to work on them. I'm honored to be part of them.
Is there a scene in this one that maybe isn't in the trailer that you can't wait for people to see that you can tease a little bit?
Scott, what is that? What's the scene?
Oh, my favorite scene was when you're sitting down on the floor with Samira. I think that's just 'cause it's a small scene. It's sort of, he exposes his heart and it makes you cry. And I'm a hard guy to make cry watching a movie, and I know him. It makes it even harder, seriously. But it's a wonderful scene, look.
Oh, thanks.
I told you this.
Yeah, I
already.
know, but I didn't like cue this question up. I didn't think you were going to say that scene.
No,
like,
but
the
that scene
coffee
it's a great
It's a
scene.
sweet scene, actually.
And then his what the movie, the climax of the movie is his speech at a debate, which is really, encapsulates the entire what the movie's about and why these Christians don't vote, and your voice needs to be heard, and it's a wonderful scene. So for me, all my scenes are the best.
Now, I was going to say that too. I thought he was going to talk about those scenes.
But second best is Dave and his
Dave having coffee, talking about. No, you know what? I think what he's I think what he's trying to say, or what I think is the heart of God's Not Dead is it's not. Yes, it's encased with and it's an election movie. It seems like, but it's not political. It's not about politics. It's about hope. It's about inspiration. It's about where do we fit in. Where does God fit in the midst of politics, in the midst of should Christians be involved in politics? So often we don't want to join in on those things because politics is a dirty business. It's kind of like my parents said, don't go to Hollywood because Hollywood is a dirty business. And yet that scene actually that he's talking about really is a scene about where God puts you in the middle of a storm for such a time as this. And even though it's uncomfortable, he wants to take us out of our comfort zone and put us there to make a difference.
Yeah. You talk about your friendship. Is this the first time he's been able to pull you into the Pure Flix side of films?
No. Our children went to the same school, and I think we were on there was a basketball game or something, and Dave walked over and said, "Hey, I've got this movie about divorce, a faith-based movie about divorce."
Courting Mom and Dad, if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, and then I was
Christy Swanson.
kind of like, he says, "And would your daughter play your daughter?" And I went, "Well, now I can't say no." So I said, "Sure, man, it'd be fun." And it was a fun movie. My daughter was in it. We played my daughter. We had a ball. So that was the first time. And I just did another thing with Dave in Miami.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
Scott Baio plays an assassin.
yeah, it was fun.
He shot a lot of people.
I get
A wide array of characters.
Yeah, I get to kill Cuba Gooding Jr. It was
We had him in
who was
here
a
a few
wonderful
weeks
guy. A really good guy. He's a good guy.
So, has this movie teased you a little bit enough to maybe where you would want to go into politics on this side?
No.
You just like talking about it. You don't want to be
No,
in there.
I like talking about it. I don't need the exam that these people are gonna. They're horrible people, horrible, and no, I enjoy my life too much.
Yeah. Let's talk about the podcast a little bit too. Popular podcast that kind of falls in
the
here.
White House Pod, Dare to Dream. Thank you for bringing that up. One of our most favorite guests that we have ever had on the show was Scott Baio. And if you want to hear Scott Baio's story, it's actually a great place to hear it on. Yeah, I hope you. Thanks so much for doing it. It's on iHeartRadio. It's everywhere. Where it's I don't even Spotify, YouTube.
Popped up in my feed last night.
Oh, good. Yeah. Did you watch it?
No. I didn't have time. I had to prep for this interview.
Well, watch the Scott
But it's on my
Baio-
list still.
Good. Watch the Scott Baio episode on YouTube because of the sheer fact of you got it. Did you watch it, by the way?
I did.
It's pretty amazing with the visuals. What our team is able to do. All the Scott Baio footage from
Is it a recent one?
since he was 14 years old.
Yeah. Is it recent? It was a couple months ago.
Yeah, it's pretty recent for a podcast.
Yeah. It's there.
I got some travels coming up.
There's all kinds of people there, yeah. But thank you very much. But
Yeah.
Please watch it.
Well, let's talk about how people can see God's Not Dead. It's going to be in theaters at least on September 12th. Is it going to be in there longer than that, and then it moves over to PureFlix?
Yeah, as you know, I think the end of this movie is really about what Scott was talking about of trying to get people to out and actually vote. You know, make a difference because you have the vote. It's not, you know, those people out in Washington aren't the ones in charge. You're in charge. You have the ability to vote. And when people go to the theaters, it's the same thing. If I want more faith-based movies in the theaters like this, don't just support ours, support all of them. Again, Hollywood notices these things called numbers.
Yeah. And we're seeing that this year. A lot of faith-based films making it into the big theaters this year.
It's back, yeah. So September 12th in theaters everywhere. Try to go to the opening weekend if you can.
And then moves over to PureFlix after theaters? Or we don't know yet?
Well, we don't want to talk about that because we want everybody to go to the theaters.
Hey, we want
Go
them
to the theaters.
We
See it
also
on
want them
big
to have a
screen.
PureFlix subscription, too.
That's true.
That helps you make these movies.
That's true.
All right. God's Not Dead, the latest installment, is in theaters September 12th. Scott Baio, David A.R. White. Go check them out.